Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Hmm.
It's Tuesday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lords of the Night. With me, as always, is the Lord of Pennies, Satsu 2 cents.
What up, dude?
And I'm your host, Scribe, the Lord of Punishment. Hope everyone's doing well and having a good Tuesday, a good week so far. Before the stream, thank you, Point Curation. Hope everyone is having a good week, and welcome. Well, welcome to you too, Point. Thank you so much. And Tall Person, thank you so much. Happy Plan Your Epitaph Day, everybody. Remember, everybody dies. This has been a Tall Person public service announcement. Plan Your Epitaph Day. I don't know. What do you want on your tombstone, Satsu?
Wow, that was underwhelming.
Actually, the correct answer is pepperoni and olives. Yes, well, welcome to Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. It's been an interesting day in news. We'll get to that momentarily. But Satsu, how are you doing?
Not bad. Doing all right. Got a little nervous today because we set up our auto payments or whatever with our apartment, because we literally can't get money orders anymore because the place we were getting them from are like, yeah, no, that's not a thing anymore. So I'm like, oh, so how are we going to pay our rent? So fortunately, they did have a thing, but it didn't clear today. And I'm just like, what's the deal? And they're like, don't panic. It's fine. We got it. It just took a little longer than usual. And I'm like, all right, I'm just making sure because I will not be paying you a late fee. So it ain't happening. So just otherwise, same old. Squeetus was smashing some mozzarella sticks today. I don't think she's ever had those before. She was going ham.
A new toy.
Mm.
Sean Uli says, y'all see Tier donated $1,000 to Sinatra today. Wow. Oh,
who did?
Sinatra. Tier, T-I-I-R.
Oh,
Now, I missed that, but hey, good on him. As for myself, relatively quiet day. Nothing too exciting happened, I suppose. Tomorrow will be busy. I got work, and my regular weekly phone meeting, and then I have to split out of here to go to the dentist, and then I'm going to go get a haircut after that, because the only haircut place now near me is 2 miles down the hill, because all the other ones closed near me because pandemic. So yay. So that'll be exciting. So tomorrow's going to be busy. Other than that, nothing too exciting. Maybe. I might have something for later. But with that, Monkey Dick, Jim Jones, movies, video games, hit that like button if you have not already. And I can see that many of you haven't. Maybe just waiting to find out if the news is worth listening to. Could be. And please share our stuff. Share it far, wide, sideways, and otherwise. Said it before. We'll say it again. YouTube does a very poor job of letting people know that small channels like ours exist. So if there's a content creator out there that you appreciate, be sure to let people know that you do. Tweet their stuff, Facebook their stuff, LimeWire their stuff, ICQ their stuff, IRC their stuff, whatever the kids are using these days. So let's begin with something near and dear to my heart. Comic books. You like comic books, don't you, Satsu?
Sure.
Do you, though?
I like manga.
That's not the same thing. But apparently today, Jordan Peterson is now the Red Skull, or vice versa. Marvel Comics author Ta-Nehisi Coates compares Jordan Peterson to the Red Skull in latest issue of Captain America. Satsu, what do you know of the Red Skull?
I know his skull is red.
Okay, well, so as a comic book nerd, I'll give you a quick rundown. The Red Skull, a real name Johann Schmidt, was handpicked by Hitler to be his personal secret agent kind of guy. And originally he was just a guy who wore a Red Skull mask and did special things for Hitler. Eventually, and he was the arch nemesis of Captain America. So for a long time, he was just a normal guy. And he had all these nefarious plans to, of course, take over the world and raise up the Third Reich and all this other stuff. Eventually, he had his consciousness transferred into a cloned body of Captain America. But then when he got exposed to his own death dust, or red dust of death, I forget which it was, it screwed up his head again. So he actually was physically a Red Skull person and could reverse that. So he became the Red Skull again. Anyway, as the character evolved over time, they kind of faded out the Nazi stuff in the more recent years and turned him more into like a international terrorist, anarchist kind of guy. Either way, Red Skull epitomizes one of the worst of the bad guys of the Marvel Universe. But let's take a look at this. In the latest issue of Captain America, Marvel Comics author Ta-Nehisi Coates has drawn a comparison between Jordan Peterson, the prominent psychologist whose self-help teachings run counter to many of the beliefs of critical social justice and race theory, and the infamous Hydra villain, Red Skull. Yeah, Skull's also leader of Hydra, or one of them. There's several. As seen in recent issues, Captain America's current storyline involves the return of Red Skull, who, following his return from death as a mental co-inhabitant of Alexander Lukin's newly revived body, it's a long story, it has to do with the Cosmic Cube and a bunch of other things, has taken to radicalizing his various followers through posting internet videos criticizing the Star-Spangled Hero and what he represents. Thank you, this is Kyle. Hello, chat people in Latin. Hello, Kyle. Let's see if they'll give us some examples here. Though Red Skull's inflammatory internet career was first hinted at in the last issue, number 27, it was not until the recent release of issue number 28 that Coates revealed that the classic Captain America villain was not only going about his operation by running a simple blog, an embarrassing downgrade from his once lofty goals of possessing the Cosmic Cube, but that his radical teachings were based on the work of Jordan Peterson. According to a panel in the issue, Red Skull's blog contains articles such as Chaos and Order, The Feminist Trap, and a video discussing the, quote, 10 Rules for Life, unquote, all of which are hyperbolic parodies of topics Peterson has touched upon. In particular, the Red Skull's video article is an obvious reference to Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Later, at the conclusion of the issue, Red Skull's followers proceed to overwhelm a wounded Captain America before he is rescued from his attackers by an armored Sharon Carter. In turn, Red Skull takes footage of Roger's defeat and proceeds to use it in a propaganda video, appealing to the various racist and terrorist groups who've taken up his message by offering them the metaphorical sword of manhood. Eventually, Coates' underhanded swing at Peterson was discovered by the psychologist himself, who took to Twitter to share his utter amazement at the Marvel writer's audacity, asking his followers upon first notice of the issue, quote, what the hell? In a follow-up tweet, a baffled Peterson further asks, quote, do I really live in a universe where Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a Captain America comic featuring a parody of my ideas as part of the philosophy of the arch-villain Red Skull? Yeah, you do. As of writing, neither Marvel nor Coates has commented on the issue's comparison between Peterson and Captain America's arch-foe. What do you make of Coates' comparison? Let us know your thoughts on social media or in the comments down below. Thank you, Andrew Joyner. Hello, my lordies. Well, hello, Andy, I think. Thank you so much. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Keldrig. This is the dumbest hot take I've heard in a while and an insult to what was once a great comic book villain. Okay, so I was going to say two things. One, Jordan Peterson is not immune from criticism, even bad criticism. So in that sense, Ta-Nehisi Coates can, make whatever parallels he wants for the most part. Although, whether or not that parody makes any sense, I don't know. But to Keldrig's point, this is a dilution of the Red Skull as a comic book supervillain.
Yeah, it's like they just said, hey, this villain's kind of cool. How can we ruin him completely and just make him completely the most non-threatening and stupidest fucking civilian thing? He might as well not even. What's the point of the Red Skull? He could just be a regular dude. Like, what?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if he was doing this through a puppet, if he was, and that was kind of what he was doing previously when he was just inhabiting the body of a guy that looked like a normal guy, but kind of like possessed him. that might make some kind of sense. If he was using somebody as a front to do something, sure. But showing up as the Red Skull, like, that doesn't make any sense. And B, the Red Skull is supposed to have far more wide-reaching plans for himself. He's seeking more immortality. He's seeking ultimate power. He's like right up there with Doctor Doom, looking for ultimate control of things. The Red Skull should be organizing some kind of secret army of supervillains to take down the Avengers or something.
He was.
Yeah.
White men are a secret army of supervillains.
Thank you, Officer Buck. Funny thing is, all that Captain America says in this could apply just as equally to Twitter progressives. There's that too. And thank you, Matt Barnes. Curating and DC, why don't we sell comics like we used to? I don't know. The comic book industry has really decided to shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again by using their comic books as platforms for political activism. And I don't understand the logic behind it. They've been taken over, and it's really sad to see. I mean, I've got boxes full of my comic books I collected in the 90s and the 80s and everything in my closet. And I was just looking back through them the other day. I had to move something in my closet, and so I took one of the boxes down, and I decided to flip through it. And I'm looking through my collection of Spider-Man comics, and it's one of those things where I've read them so many times over the years, I just have to look at the cover of the comic, and I kind of already know the plot and the story and everything. And I couldn't help but reminisce about just how much fun they were. And then I read through the panels of this that they were posting online today, and at no point did I think to myself, I would have fun reading this. You know? I mean, and I understand comic books have evolved. They are geared, and they have been for a while, towards a more mature audience. I always, tended to lean towards the graphic novels that didn't have to deal with the comics code and could be a little bit more edgy and stuff, especially The Punisher and that kind of thing. At the same time, though, something has been lost or just snuffed out in the process, where it's no longer am I reading about an adventure of the character that I'm into. I'm listening to a lecture being thrown at me via the character that I wanted to watch an adventure of. Real quick, thank you, Sir Wolfgang. This is why I buy manga. There's nothing worth buying in the Western comic book industry. Yeah, I mean, the last comic books I purchased were like, stuff from a used bookstore, and they were collections of older Punisher comics, like the Max series. I think the Punisher Max series is the last set of comic books I started collecting, just because it was one of my favorite characters and a really good take on him. And there's no politics in there. There's just straight up Punisher stories, and it was great. But lately, what I've seen going on in the periphery, I'll watch the movies. The movies, for the most part, Captain Marvel aside, don't really preach at me the whole time. But and thank you again, Matt Barnes. This is why my kids read my old comics. Yeah, I don't know what age they want to call it now, but whatever was up from the 90s through the mid 2000s, I think that was the last era of good comics. Anyway, I've talked a lot. Satsu, what do you have to say?
I don't know. I don't think that it is inherently a problem to insert whatever your belief system is into a work of fiction that you are working on. Mm-hmm. The problem comes in when, as opposed to organically weaving it into the narrative in a way that makes sense and is reasonable, they literally write it on the back and just beat the fuck out of their viewers with it.
Yeah. Now, see, I want to. That's a good point. I want to sort of supplement that. You can have social commentary in these things without doing away with the fun. Yeah. The classic example, the one that everybody goes back to, is the commentary in the X-Men comic books from the 60s onward of society's hatred and fear of mutants, right? Mm. Mutants are the other. Mutants are those that are not understood. Mutants are on the outs with society. And just because they're different. And that notion is universal. It's not, I mean, it's been drawn comparisons to like Professor X was the Malcolm, not the, the Martin Luther King figure, and Magneto was the Malcolm X figure. And they were both fighting for the rights of their people, but in different ways. It's also been looked at as an analog to the fight for gay rights, or just being an outsider as a kid who just doesn't go along with the flow and that kind of thing. There's so many things that applies to. It's a great parallel for a lot of human experience, but it doesn't hit you over the head with something specific. It makes it in universe. It makes it specific to that thing, and it speaks to a universal truism, not a specific political ideology or not specifically attacking an individual.
And it's still relatable without you necessarily having to say, hey, you person, this is for you, eh? You see what we did there?
Yeah, putting human themes, universal themes into comic books and stories, you'll never see me complain about that. Using your comic book for something that is... is anybody... here's the thing. You know how you watch a movie sometimes and there's just the style of the movie or the references in it just completely date that movie, and it's not something that's going to work 10 years down the line? See that stuff?
Because it's like trapped in, the era that it was made for.
Yeah, the most blatant example I think of is some of those superhero movie and date movie and that kind of stuff, where the visual gags are very in the moment. If Dr. Phil is not the celebrity he is in 20 years, nobody's going to recognize him when he's parodied in that movie, that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, not only that, the movies that were being parodied were all other movies that were around that time. So if you hadn't seen all of them, then you're going to be like, I don't get why this is supposed to be funny.
Right. And so, there are some things, when you do stuff like this, you make your comic, you make your story have a shelf life of about 6 months.
Yeah. You capture the market of the fucking ideologues that you wanted to grab with that, most of which probably aren't going to buy it because they can see it on the internet and are just like, oh, wow, I'm glad they did that. Yeah. And that's it.
And the other thing, too, is that when you see things like this, I cannot help but say this entire comic book has been created for one person's ego trip.
Yep.
That's it. And that's not a selling point to me. It really isn't. It doesn't feel like a collaboration. It doesn't feel like an actual story in the universe. It feels like some one-off issue that you get from your dentist's office from Colgate that has, in this special issue, Captain America fights for clean teeth or something. It's like, okay, you've given me your message. And this comic book is just something you put in the closet and goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Officer Buck. Again, X-Men weren't created to be allegories, but they fit so well as allegories for so many things. Yeah, they worked that into the plot eventually, although it was kind of in the first few issues too. It developed, right? And you can introduce a sort of a universal concept into a pre-existing IP if you're creative about it, because then people can relate to the characters in a general sense, in a universal sense, without having to go for some specific notion about it. I could go on forever about comic books, but wanted to bring that story up because that kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah, you just got to make it make sense. In the universe that it exists in, it has to make sense because humanity obviously outnumbered mutants. People are afraid of what they can't understand versus something like My Hero Academia, where most people had powers of some sort. And the rarity was if you didn't. You know what I mean? And what the issues and drama and shit that came with. And just like you can relate to the persecuted or the outcast in one, you could look at that other show and see the opposite spectrum and still relate to the outcast on the other side because it's basically the same thing. It's subtle, but it's effective.
Yeah, it's a common human experience taken to a sort of dramatic degree for the sake of a comic book. And like I say, everybody can find something to relate to there when you do this kind of stuff. And again, Jordan Peterson's not immune from criticism or parody or critique or whatever. So any complaint he has about it, it's definitely not a compliment to have your ideas, confabulated into the Red Skull's ideology given the character's history. He's a Nazi. He's a murderous Nazi. And now he's been tied to Jordan Peterson in perpetuity. I do not blame Jordan Peterson for being pissed off about it, but he's a public figure, and even bad criticism is still legitimate criticism, short of being like, slander or libel or something. But anyway, moving on. Enough about that. Let's go on to some news that I found particularly pertinent given current events. Former permanent resident who hoped Biden would be his miracle to be deported. Now, this actually surprises me.
Does it?
Well, I guess, okay. Given the rhetoric, it surprises me. Given the realities that Biden obviously has to face, I guess it doesn't. But here's the thing. I'm guessing, I haven't read the story yet, but I'm guessing that this guy's situation had been adjudicated years ago. Like the final deportation order was probably authorized under Trump or under Obama, and the whole process had already played itself out for this particular individual. But let's find out. Kelvin Silva, 44, hoped President Joe Biden would take a different stance than his predecessor by not deporting him. Quote, "We just need a miracle," Silva told ABC News in December. Quote, "I'm depending and hoping for when Biden takes the presidency, he can help us out of this situation," unquote. Is it a situation that you put yourself in by any chance? But his miracle never manifested. Silva was set to be deported Tuesday, according to his lawyer. Quote, "We thought there was going to be a change," Jasmine Pena, Silva's sister, told ABC News Monday. Quote, "I thought he was going to at least get a chance to finish arguing his case. It's really disappointing, especially since he's been here since he was so young. He knows nothing about the Dominican Republic at all. We had really high hopes. It is so sad." Tell us more details, would you? Silva always believed he was safe from deportation. While he was born in the Dominican Republic, he legally moved to the United States when he was 11, joining his father, who had become a naturalized U.S. citizen, according to court documents. Silva said he thought he had gained citizenship through his father, but that wasn't the case. When Silva came to the U.S., the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1940 was still the law, and it barred children like Silva, whose parents were never officially married, from gaining citizenship status through their fathers. The Child Citizenship Act of 2000 overturned the 1940s law, but the legislation was not applied retroactively, and so Silva never became a U.S. citizen. Unlike undocumented immigrants, Silva was a lawful, longtime permanent resident. He had a Social Security card, paid taxes, and could access public assistance programs up until an immigration judge revoked his status. As a teenager, Silva became involved in illegal activities after his father died. Okay, and that is probably the poison pill to the whole thing. He might have had an argument for leniency or being grandfathered in or something. But and if you look at the DACA, if you look at the DREAM Act, of all the things that are required of someone who has been brought here as a child to apply for legal status or citizenship or anything else, the one thing that thou shalt not have on thy record is any criminal activity. You have to have a clean criminal record in all instances. If you don't have that, when the time comes, you're pretty much sunk. Thank you, Matt Barnes. All I need is a miracle. All I need is you. Yes, I know that song. Thank you, Matt. Quote, I'm going to be honest, I was selling drugs, Silva said in December. I regret it. I regret every one of the things I did in my past, unquote. Yep. Silva was convicted and incarcerated in 2013 for possession with intent to distribute marijuana and cocaine. He was sentenced to 127 months behind bars on federal charges and was rendered automatically deportable under immigration law because of his crimes. And again, that if he was being deported and he had no criminal record and he was just a victim of the law and the system and everything else, I'd probably be one of the first ones to say that guy should be given a break.
Yeah, they should at least look at it and let him state his case at the very least. But I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, I and I've said this before. I am not inherently against the spirit of DACA or the DREAM Act. If you are brought over here as a child against your own, consent, without any knowledge, or being, guided by your parents and so on, you should not be held to the same standard as a grown adult making that same decision. I don't think that's the case. However, I also agree that if in the time that you've been here since and the time since that you've been an adult, you've committed other crimes, that is, that's not, we wouldn't, short of very particular circumstances, we wouldn't allow someone to become a citizen of the United States who is coming over here that we know has been convicted of crimes in their home country.
All right.
Yeah. So usually, I mean, again, it all depends on the circumstances, etc. But generally speaking, if you have a clean criminal record, that's a plus in your favor of becoming a U.S. citizen. The standard should be no different for someone who is applying for or qualifies otherwise for residency or citizenship. So there you go.
But it should stand out, though, that he specified, like, oh, I thought I was going to get a break because of, like, well, why would you think that? Like, why would, unless it was something that Biden pushed or said or endorsed or, I don't know, possibly made a bunch of people think, why would you think that?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, everything that's been described so far about his situation, he was victim of circumstance, of laws that were, outdated, got overwritten, so on and so forth. His father, all that stuff. It's like he couldn't have known. It's not his fault. He was an 11-year-old, whatever. But every offering of a law or process, whether it's the established citizenship process or the proposed DREAM Act or the DACA system in place, all of them include that one major condition: clean criminal record. So why he thought he would get an exception here, don't know. Let's see. He was sentenced to 127 months behind bars in federal charges and was rendered automatically deportable under immigration law because of his crimes. In 2013 immigration law, okay, I'm assuming that hasn't changed. So he served his time in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, earned his GED behind bars, and completed a drug abuse program. But 2 days before he was tentatively supposed to be released from custody of the BOP, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement served him with a notice to appear and began his removal proceedings. Okay, so again, he was set in prison under the Obama administration, right? Mm-hmm. And he was rendered automatically deportable under immigration law during the Obama administration. All right. And then, let's see, that was on July 16, 2019 is when he was released and then began the removal proceedings. He's been in Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody ever since, which is over 20 months. Why? Why didn't Trump immediately deport him? I'm curious. A White House spokesperson told ABC News on Tuesday that Silva, quote, violated the terms of his admission after being convicted of multiple drug convictions in New York and North Carolina from 1997 to 2013, including, numerous drug trafficking charges for possession with intent to distribute controlled substances. While we are still grappling with the consequences of a failed and racially inequitable war on drugs, Kelvin nevertheless turned his life around after completing a substance abuse treatment program in prison. Meredith Yoon, one of Silva's lawyers and a lead attorney with the Southern Poverty Law Center's Southeast Immigrant Freedom Initiative, told ABC News in response. He deserves a chance to rebuild his life, and if it weren't for the discriminatory Geyer rule, he would have that chance just like any other U.S. citizen who has completed their sentence. But there's the rub.
He's not a U.S. citizen.
He's not a U.S. citizen.
How do you miss that part? Just like any other U.S. He's not, though.
Your
he's not a U.S. citizen. Falls apart.
He's not a U.S. citizen. Now, I can't. Did they? Let's see. When was he brought here? United States when he was 11. They don't say what year that was. Anyway, so I don't know how old he was when he started committing his crimes, but he was a grown adult who wasn't here legally. Anyway, let's see. The agency said Silva is a, quote, aggravated felon who falls within the current priorities for civil immigration enforcement, arrest, and removal set forth by the current administration, unquote. People who, quote, pose a threat to public safety, unquote, are prioritized for deportation, an ICE spokesperson said. Quote, Mr. Silva is not a threat to public safety and therefore does not meet the public safety priority categories criteria for enforcement, Yoon wrote in a press release. He has extensive family ties in the United States, including his U.S. citizen mother, sisters, and 3 children. Whether or not he's a threat to public safety, he has criminal convictions. Like federal criminal convictions. Yoon said she believes Silva is being targeted for deportation unfairly because he is a black immigrant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it.
So under the Obama administration, when he was sent to prison and when he automatically qualified, let's say, for deportation, that was because he was a black immigrant.
Yeah, of course. Well, okay. What other reason could it be, Scribe?
Quote, a survey of relevant cases reveals a disproportionate effect on people born outside of marriage in majority black countries, Yoon wrote in a petitioner's motion. Okay. According to the court filing, 54% of the 63 Federal Circuit Court denials of relief from deportation were people from Caribbean countries that have a majority black population.
And what were their criminal records?
In comparison, only 3 people were denied from Mexico and 3 from all of Europe.
And what were their criminal records?
In what time period? Yeah, what? Kelvin's case underscores that we are up against an inhumane immigration system that doubly punishes black immigrants. Yeah, okay. Yoon told ABC News.
Whatever.
Okay, so 54% of the 63 Federal Circuit Court. So the other 46%. What? No, 36%, sorry. No, wait, my math is off. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, moving on, because this is just silly. I don't know what else to tell you. 46%. Like I say, the standard is you have to have a clean criminal record. You can't. I mean, I'm thinking that it's like you have no felony convictions. Like a traffic ticket is not going to get you barred from, becoming a resident or something else. But yeah. So, but I'm more curious as to why he was held for 20 months. Why he wasn't deported. I mean, within a short time after being released from prison. That's the part I'm not quite sure about. But anyway, there was that. Joe Biden. See, I think part of the issue is, and this came up during the Trump administration too. I did several videos for my Expatriate Game series where the person was being deported and they were saying it's Trump's fault. But if you actually looked at the information, you would have seen that their final order of deportation was approved under the Obama administration. So and I'm not specifically pointing out Obama. I'm just saying that this guy's situation had already been decided years ago. As soon as he went to prison, his situation was decided. So again, like you said, why did he think he was somehow going to get an exemption in this situation? I don't know. Why his lawyers thought he'd get an exemption? I don't know. The problem is, and this argument was made in other videos that I've done. There was an argument made that this person has been here for X number of years. They've made a family. They have connections here. It would be inhumane to deport them. And as callous as it might sound, my observation always was, if you make an incentive of people coming here and starting families so they can say, look, I've made children here, you can't deport me. That's not a good standard to set. Because then when it comes down to it, you're going to have families that are created simply as anchor families. Not just anchor babies, but anchor families. You're going to have people coming up here and putting the livelihood and the security of additional families and additional people under threat because of deportation and criminal proceedings and everything else. It's not really what you want to start doing. And like I say, this guy's situation, everything up until I'm going to go deal drugs and everything else, he might have had an argument. In fact, if save for that and not knowing all the other information, but given his situation of arrival, I'd say the guy deserves a break, except under the law, he doesn't. And it's the same situation for anybody else trying to become a resident of the country, regardless of whether you're here illegally or otherwise. So that being said, let's move on to something else. I'll make this the last one, I think, since already gone a little overtime because I'm a loudmouth. What can I tell you? Let's talk about our favorite friend at CNN, Chris Cillizza. And he's having to concede something about a Republican. 60 Minutes just gave Ron DeSantis a massive gift. Or 60 Minutes just tried to unfairly besmirch this guy and lie about him.
Isn't that hilarious? The angle, instead of, pointing out the fact that they lied or whatever, he's like, oh, they just helped him. Just like whenever there was an issue of somebody fucking up or messing up something in regards to news about Trump, they're like, oh, they really helped him out. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why can't you just tell it the way it is? Like, why does it?
Yeah, 60 Minutes lied. 60 Minutes made a false allegation with doctored reporting. You should be actually criticizing 60 Minutes. It's weird that you say, oh, they give him a massive gift, like, oh, now he's got an advantage. Like, shouldn't you be, like you're almost regretful that DeSantis now has this thing, rather than saying 60 Minutes needs to fire those people, or you should be critiquing their quote-unquote journalism? Let's see what Chris has to say. On Sunday night, as a broader piece about the vaccination efforts in Florida, 60 Minutes correspondent Sharon Alfonsi noted that Publix, a grocery store that had partnered with the state to distribute vaccines, had also donated $100,000 to Governor Ron DeSantis' 2022 re-election campaign. It was a passing mention without any other facts or context to back it up. Just that Publix was working with the state to administer vaccines and that the company's PAC had made this donation to the governor. The insinuation here, however, was pretty clear. Publix got the state contract because of the donation, pay to play, favoritism, all that good stuff. The problem is that, in the wake of the 60 Minutes report, multiple Democratic elected officials have come out to debunk the tie between the donation and Publix distributing the vaccine. Hey, Chris, just a question. Why weren't you and or your organization on the case to fact check 60 Minutes reporting on that amazing allegation? Why did it take people having to come forward otherwise to say so? I mean, admittedly, they're probably going to know quicker than anybody else, but you didn't want to fact check 60 Minutes?
No, it was about a filthy Republican. It had to be true.
We kind of read most of this last night. Palm Beach County mayor came forward and said it was nuts. And moving on. The report and the backlash amount to a massive gift to DeSantis as he looks to his re-election race next year and, he hopes, a 2024 run for the Republican presidential nomination. The mainstream media trying to suggest he was involved in a pay-for-play scheme involving a COVID vaccine, with Democrats on the record saying not only that 60 Minutes got it wrong, but did so purposely. Manna from heaven for DeSantis, I guess, who has already benefited greatly from his laissez-faire approach to the pandemic in his state, placing second behind only former President Donald Trump in a 2024 straw poll conducted at the Conservative Political Action Conference earlier this year.
So he didn't like the fact that he was getting help, or that this made him look good, so he decided to do some sideways hit piece on him. What a bitch.
For their part, a CBS spokesperson said 60 Minutes had requested an interview with DeSantis, but he declined, and added, quote, "The idea we ignored their perspective is untrue. Our story Sunday night speaks for itself," unquote. Now, you would think at this point, an honest journalist would continue this story by critiquing 60 Minutes and their editorial process and their the bias of their reporters.
Yeah, and their clear editing of the footage and cherry picking. But
here's how Chris starts out his next paragraph. Like any ambitious national politician, DeSantis sought to quickly move to take advantage of the situation. He appeared on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show Monday night, denouncing the 60 Minutes report as a smear with malicious intent.
And it wasn't?
Trump-aligned commentators rushed to DeSantis' defense, as did the Democratic officials in his state, Chris.
Who did first? Which you already mentioned.
Casting this episode as evidence of just how scared the media is of the Florida governor's 2024 prospects. You're not helping that case, Chris. Quote, "You cannot even imagine the ways the system is going to try to destroy Ron DeSantis in the next few years," tweeted Jesse Kelly, a host on The Right, a conservative TV network. Quote, "He scares them. This 60 Minutes thing was just the soft warm-up to what's coming," unquote. DeSantis couldn't have written this script any better. He gets oodles more national attention and love from Trump conservatives, all the while being able to bash away at the media. Win, win, win. The point, becoming a major contender for a presidential nomination requires skill, yes, but also requires being in the right place at the right time, not to mention some lucky breaks. And this is a major one for DeSantis. Chris, this was not a lucky break. This was not he won the lottery by guessing the numbers off of his license plate. This was a news organization that you are tacitly endorsing in this thing, purposefully mischaracterizing information to allege criminal conduct on the part of a sitting governor.
Yeah.
And you see this as, well, DeSantis sure lucked out with this one.
Yeah. Your fucking colleagues are literally lying and trying to smear somebody, and you're just like, as a self-respected journalist, that hurt to say. Are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Chris Cillizza, remind you, CNN's editor at large, has nothing to say about the editorial process of 60 Minutes, about the fact-checking process of 60 Minutes, about the integrity of the people creating that piece for 60 Minutes. No. It's just, gosh dang it, Ron DeSantis can leverage this for a gain. Can't look inward for a second at your own industry. Can't critique a fellow news organization. No. It's that, damn it.
And see, like, obviously, I don't like Chris Cillizza. Mm-hmm. I can't stand him, motherfucker. I think he's a weasel and a piece of shit. This right here, though, for whatever reason, further, like, significantly elevates my disgust for this fucking creature of a person, because this is like next level right here. Because he's been outwardly spoken against the attack on journalists and how there's no legitimate reason to criticize journalism. And we have a clear example. And even when his Democratic teammates or whatever is just like, yeah, that's not true. He basically calls them, along with the Trump supporters and everybody else, fucking conspiracy theorists, like they're spreading some shit that ain't true. He framed it like they're all crazy. It's bullshit. They didn't really do that. But this is what he's saying. How lucky for him that he can push this narrative. Like, what a fucking piece of shit.
I mean, if this was a perfect opportunity for Chris to actually show a little bit of integrity. If you wanted, like I was just thinking about a hypothetical article you could write about this. Okay. You spend the first 3/4 of the article critiquing what 60 Minutes did and how all the things that went wrong and how they need to, address this so this doesn't happen again and so on. And then if at the end you said something like, bad journalism makes martyrs out of people. Yeah. Right? Lying about people makes martyrs out of people in general, not just Ron DeSantis. But if the Democratic officials in the state, along with DeSantis himself, all say this is nonsense, it's not a partisan issue. This is a truth issue. And 60 Minutes lied. And so if Chris wanted to comment on how bad, faulty, or incomplete reporting does not do any service for society at large, he would be on point. And regardless of saying whether DeSantis has a gift or not, you could critique that, and you could also say something to the effect of, if you lie about somebody, you're giving them ammunition to make you the bad guy. You don't want to make yourself, as the journalist, the enemy of the story. You could have some warning words for journalists in this, and still make effectively the same point without having to look like a partisan hack.
Yeah, and that would still not even really be ideal, but at least it'd be better than this, because we've had instances of that before. Hey guys, could you not burn down that building with those federal people in there? You're gonna make Trump look good if you murder those people.
Right.
Like, yeah, exactly. Please don't murder those people because it'll make Trump look good. Not because murder's bad, because I don't care if you kill those people, because I'm a fucking piece of shit. But we wouldn't want Trump looking, because their deaths is much less important than Trump looking good. Yeah. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Anyway, not entirely surprised by this, but just the overall, Chris, it was right there in front of you. You're an editor at large. You should be, by your own professional situation, I would hope, I would have thought, maybe, that you would be personally offended that story got through all of the steps that are purportedly present at a place like 60 Minutes before it made it on to air.
Yeah. Even if he was only upset because it helped the Republican. Like, because you would still understand. Well, yeah, it's partisan or whatever, and he's showing disdain and he's upset that they fucked up the reporting or whatever. But he's only mad because of this reason. It would still be like, okay, he's still upset at the the journalistic or lack of journalistic integrity. But no, he's just like, darn it.
Anyway. Moving on to MSS News. Guys, if you have news stories you'd like us to read on the air, please send them to us via Twitter using the hashtag MSS News. Can't promise we'll get to them all, but that's because I'm particularly long-winded tonight. If you hadn't noticed, this first one comes to us from Frosted Glass. We're back to CNN briefly. Arkansas's governor's surprising veto of anti-trans law lasted 1 day. Okay, the anti-trans law, as far as I understand it, just says you're not allowed to give hormone medication to minors. You don't start medicating minors for transitional stuff. We'll see if the story says otherwise. Less than 1 week after perhaps the most egregiously anti-transgender bill in modern U.S. history passed the Arkansas legislature, it was vetoed in a surprise move by Governor Asa Hutchinson, a staunch Republican with a poor record on LGBTQ and civil rights. Oh, so this isn't a redeeming thing at all in your eyes? He's still a bad guy. Okay. Less than 1 day later, the General Assembly voted Tuesday to override the governor's veto, making their state the first in the country to outlaw gender-affirming treatment for trans youth. We talked about this before. I've seen stories, and we've heard about them, of kids as young as like 6 and 7 being started put on hormone blockers and things like that when they have no idea what they're doing or why they're doing it. Anyway, the bill, HB 1570, erroneously dubbed the Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act. Wait, erroneously dubbed. Is this an opinion piece? It is an opinion piece. Okay, I just want to make sure real quick, because you can't tell these days. It doesn't really matter. Would have prohibited medical providers from delivering gender-affirming healthcare, to transgender individuals under the age of 18. Transgender individuals. If you have gender dysphoria, it's anyway. The bill passed with a large majority in both legislative chambers, and less than a month prior, Hutchinson signed 2 anti-LGBTQ bills, one that allows healthcare workers to turn LGBTQ people away from non-emergency treatment. Really? How do you determine who they like to sleep with at the time they need treatment?
Yeah, that sounds erroneously mentioned. Somehow I feel like that's not exactly what that does. Somehow I feel like it's worded maybe differently than that.
I've gone to the hyperlink just for a second. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson on Friday signed into law legislation allowing doctors to refuse to treat someone because of religious or moral objections, a move opponents have said will give providers broad powers to turn away LGBTQ patients and others.
So once again, like I said, it was erroneously labeled.
The measure says healthcare workers and institutions have the right to not participate in non-emergency treatments that violate their conscience. Non-emergency treatments that violate. The new law won't take effect until late this summer. Okay, I don't particularly like the idea that doctors can just deny someone health care because of what they do in their private lives as a general notion.
I feel you, but what the article said is that it was specifically designed to stop people from treating trans people.
Yeah, well, LGBTQ.
Well, yeah, LGBTQ
yeah, that
people.
One's. I mean, anyway, I'm just imagining those situations where it's like, the guy who just shot people at a school, let's say, and he's been shot by police and he's taken to the hospital. The doctors just say, nah, he's a child killer, and not treat him. Thank you, Pudak. Note how every outlet trying real journalism has to make sure who are the real baddies. When they grilled Cuomo, they kept painting him as right wing. When they grilled Cuomo, they kept painting him as right wing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Who painted Cuomo as right wing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
Yeah. Let's see. And one that denies transgender women and girls the ability to play on female sports teams. Okay, well, that's a whole other issue of just, proven biology. So it came as a shock to many in the LGBTQ community and their allies, and to those who supported HB 1570, that the governor would refuse to sign his own party's bill into law. The hotly contested legislation was the most egregious in a string of attempts in state legislatures across the country to prevent transgender people from accessing facets of civic life the rest of us take for granted, including healthcare and participation in sports. They're not being barred from participating in sports.
Yeah, they're literally not being barred from participating in sports. I just, every time they make that argument, it drives me insane. Just like it's a Muslim ban. Can Muslims come here? Yeah. Well, what?
Okay. Now, the whole I can have a conscious objection to treating someone who needs medical care, non-emergency. I'm
non-emergency.
Like what? Like I'm not going to give that person a flu shot because they're gay. And again, I'd be very curious to know, how will you determine that aspect? Now, the transgender part, just on the biological reality of things, I suppose you could tell that if you were a doctor or something. But having a conscientious objection to treating somebody, like does a staunch Catholic not have to treat a Muslim for a non-emergency situation because of a religious objection? Like what? That one sounds awfully screwy to me. I won't deny that one sounds awfully goofy. Let's see, hotly contested. I have to wonder, because they make a good point. Hutchinson has been all for this kind of stuff up to this stage of the game. Why would he veto it? Unless he knew his veto was going to be overridden. And he could just kind of dodge that, and the blame could be... I'm thinking like a politician now, unfortunately, because it seems completely bizarre.
Yeah, it does seem kind of... I mean, I'm not, criticizing or saying that maybe they shouldn't be surprised. Like, it is kind of surprising that he did it, but, whatever.
Real quick, Puddock supplements his tweet. I'll admit part of what I saw was late night stuff. Got to hear all sides. Seth Meyers talked about Cuomo's cover-ups and harassment scandals, but still made Cuomo as right-leaning. See, I don't get how that works. Cuomo was put up there as like the anti-Trump all of 2020.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, thank you so much. Gino Marino, keep up the good work tonight, Lords. Thank you, Gino. Hope you're feeling better. Gino is, as far as I know, still healing up from his motorcycle accident. And also, I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Also, congratulations on the engagement, Gino. Girlfriend and he are on the way to wedding bells and all that good stuff. So thank you so much, Gino. All right, let's move on from this. We've... dealt on this. Oh, Dr. Keeve, see you later. Are you going bye-bye, Dr. Keeve? Bye, Dr. Keeve. Let's see. This one comes from Sean Uli. Let's see. We have that there and this here and boom. MLB All-Star Game moves to Colorado despite stricter voting laws. Oh, yeah, right. So all these corporations and everything are now boycotting Georgia. Because of the voting law that says black people don't know how to get a driver's license.
Yeah.
Or I should say that's the argument that is being made about the Georgia voting law being restrictive.
Or at the very least, they don't know how to use them properly.
Right. But now, so the Major League Baseball moved the All-Star Game out of Georgia somewhere else in protest. But me not knowing the voting laws in every state, apparently they moved to Colorado, who has even stricter voting measures than Georgia. Ain't that a peach? Critics are scratching their heads over Major League Baseball's decision to yank its All-Star game from Georgia and move it to Colorado, where voting laws are actually more restrictive than those in the Peach State, which promoted the boycott. Okay, so Colorado is a racist state. Black people don't know how to vote in Colorado. We should look up and see what was the percentage of the black population in Colorado that voted in the last presidential election.
You know where else voting laws are more restrictive? New York.
Here's the other thing. So, why are we scratching our heads? No, I'm not scratching my head. It's because MLB and all the corporations are doing whatever they're doing right now as an empty virtue signal and following the herd without thinking about what they're doing or what they're effectively endorsing by opposing or criticizing what the law actually says.
Because if they genuinely gave a fuck about what was going on, then they would have checked whatever the voting laws were in any place that they were moving to beforehand, because that was apparently important to them, right?
But they don't care.
They don't actually give a fuck, though.
The mountainous state requires voters to provide identification for in-person and first-time absentee voting. Quote, all voters who vote at the polls must provide identification, the Colorado Secretary of State's website says. Quote, if you are voting by mail for the first time, you may also need to provide a photocopy of your identification when you return your mail ballot. Do you mean to tell me that you think that anyone who's not white knows how to use a photocopier? My God. This is so fucking... I mean, the most, like, blatant evidence of empty virtue signaling bullshit.
Okay, I want the link to this one.
Yeah, no, I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, I need.
Yeah, so where are all the why are the companies? Why aren't all the corporations who are pulling out of Georgia pulling out of Colorado now?
Yeah,
I mean, shouldn't they do that? I mean, if Colorado is demonstrably worse in restrictive measures, then I mean, it should be a corporate wasteland, right? You know, everybody and their brother who is woke on this subject should be out of there. Colorado is like the most racist. I mean, it's even more racist than Georgia, right? And Georgia's actually in the South. The generals that South. You know.
Oh boy,
that's funny.
I just the self-owns, man. It's just so hard.
Okay, I'm going to do one more. Sorry, guys, that I've kind of truncated, but I have something else I wanted to do tonight on the show, and I've already shot myself in the foot for time, but we'll do one more here, and this one comes from Massive Dynamics, and hopefully it's something funny. Woman finds overturned bucket outside bedroom window, discovers man is stalking her. So like he stood on the bucket to spy on her, maybe, I'm guessing.
I guess so.
It's a Florida man. Oh, good. A Gainesville man is facing harassment charges after stalking a woman, according to an arrest report. On Saturday, the victim found an overturned bucket outside of her bedroom window, according to the report. In fear of her and her child's safety, she installed a surveillance camera. Later the same day, the camera captured Akeem Johnson, 31, walking up to the victim's window and looking inside of it, according to the report. At the time, the woman and her 1-year-old child were inside of the room. The victim posted the video to Facebook and discovered Johnson's identity. 3 days later, Johnson was photographed in front of the victim's place of work, and later that day was found pacing outside of her apartment complex. Johnson was arrested by police. He is charged with stalking and has a bond of $20,000. Johnson has previous arrests for burglary and sexual battery, according to the report. Additional charges are pending as the investigation continues. Okay, well, that lady's very lucky, and B, she was very prescient to install a camera when she did, because that doesn't sound like a recipe for happiness.
Yeah, that motherfucker was scouting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he was getting ready, probably getting ready to do something, or at least try something. So good for her. Good for her. All right, so guys, thank you so much for all the stories. Appreciate it. So just as a programming note, I'm going to be skipping Fucketry tonight. But we'll start out with YouTube time real quick, because I figured that'll take not too much time. Satsu, what have you been up to on the YouTubes today?
Well, I uploaded a video on my cooking channel about my Easter endeavors, which, was nothing super special, just what I cooked for Easter.
Mhm.
And that's kind of it. I mean, I worked on a bunch of kind of backlogged stuff that I need to get uploaded on my cooking channel last night. I didn't end up doing a game stream because, like I said, I gotten to the point to where it just doesn't feel like there's a reason to anymore. At least for the time being, because I got so many other things that I'm trying to focus on. I think we've decided on a food truck as opposed to trying to do a storefront thing.
Ooh.
As far as my business is concerned, because it makes the most sense, and it makes sure the cost of entry is not nearly as high as it would be if we did try to get a place, because there is so many costs that I didn't even, because I've been doing a lot of hardcore research on this stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, like all the stuff that I knew of that I did research beforehand and found out, I'm just like, that's going to be a lot of money. And then I dug a little bit deeper and started, watching people who had either open restaurants, people who currently have restaurants, and also people who failed at running a restaurant. And after I put together a list of all the possible, stuff that you need to consider, especially financially, I'm just like, there is no way in the fuck.
Yeah, no, restaurants are I mean, I'm not even in the restaurant business, and just peripherally from people I know and things that I've seen, they are the biggest roll of the dice. They really are.
Yeah, and not even just for that. Like, we do not possess not even a quarter of the capital necessary to be able to start something like that. Even if we decided to, maybe just get a place that's already, set up. That somebody else didn't, and even then we'd be kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, because 90% of the time, if somebody moves or closes down a restaurant, it's because something was wrong. So whatever that problem is, we're going to be inheriting it.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, you know what? Let's start a little small, shall we?
Yeah,
especially during COVID. Yeah, absolutely during COVID.
Yeah, and the other thing that I always hear is location, location, location. And if you have a mobile unit, you don't have to worry about location so much.
Squishy says we should just be porn stars, but
well, hey, OnlyFans. Thank you. This is Kyle. Go from a food truck to a storefront. I've seen many food trucks do that around me. True, I've seen that too, but it's a leap that you have to sort of establish first. You still, even if you have a successful food truck business, moving to a brick and mortar still has all the same pitfalls and concerns as if you're doing it blank. You might have word of mouth, you might have established a clientele. That's great, but that only gets you so far. So,
yeah. So, I'm definitely we're going to try to get either a large enough kind of trailer, because I've been seeing a lot of those on sale lately, or just a full-on food truck. And the thing I want to do, because like my mom, she was looking at used ones and stuff, and I'm just like, look, I get it. Like, you want to try to save money and stuff, but honestly, I don't want to do nothing that ain't brand new, Like, I just don't want to do that, because like I said, once again, if somebody's selling it, most likely there's something wrong with it, or they're just trying to get rid of it for whatever reason. I'm like, I don't want to have to pay for anything extra outside of, or have any unforeseens. I want something new, So I'm going to try to start saving up some money. Like I said, I've had one or two people asked about investing in the business or whatever. And I'm trying to make a game plan, but I want to avoid as much as I can, like, getting somebody's hand-me-down anything, So it's going to be tough, but, I'm going to go for it, because I'm one of those people that, always have the ambition and talk about wanting to do these things, and something always holds me back. And I'm just like, I'm not even thinking about failure right now. I just want to do it and see what happens,
This needs to be a series of vlog series on Fam 2 Cents of your process in building up to this, I think. And I think that'd be interesting for people, and informative for anybody that might come along later on down the line.
It'll also motivate me too to kind of keep it going.
Yeah.
And I just gotta just do it, and that's out of my nature. But I got help. Like, my mom and my sister are dedicated, and they really seem to be on board and stuff, whatever. And I know there's the there's the taboo with family and stuff, but I don't really trust anybody else more than I do my sister and my mom as far as business ventures go, you know?
I got a great title for that series. You ready? Truck, Marry, Kill.
Oh my God. Scribe.
All right. Anything else on the YouTube front?
No, that's pretty much it. You know, just same old stuff, pretty much.
As for myself, gonna have a TEDx on Thursday. I already have it picked out. Just gotta do the fun of coming up with a stinger for the thumbnail and all that good stuff. And then Sunday, going to do the Theo Ed talk with the lady who made the prayer to God to help her hate white people. I am looking forward to that one. I've seen several prominent people tweeting out that photo and giving their own comments on it. And so I'm thinking I might tag a couple of them when I finally post the stream, just on the off chance that
so they can hate share it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'll take whatever.
Another right-wing troll trying to get my attention. It's like,
that's right. Bitch. Yeah, gotcha. That's me, right-wing troll. That's who I am. But yeah, that's all I've got for the YouTube time, except I have a special addition to tonight's show.
A special?
Yes. Call it a supplementary TEDx. This is a TED Ed or TED Educator Talks. TED has a whole bunch of different, sub headings and everything. And one of them is TED Ed, which deals with education. This is a brief video. It's only about like 5 minutes long. We'll see how long it takes us to get through it. But it has a very interesting complaint. I will let the video tell us. I haven't watched this yet. But I read the headline or the title of it, and I couldn't figure out what the problem would be, but I suppose we'll learn together. So everyone, I will start this off in a moment. You tell me if you can hear it as a sound test, and then we will begin with a TED Ed special edition of Lords of the Night.
The thing that I was most excited about...
Can you hear that?
Yeah, it's a little muffly, but I can hear it.
Man, I thought I pumped the volume up a bit. I can't make it any louder, so we'll just have to bear with it. All right, let's see what happens.
Once I was married, and I could put a sign outside my classroom that said, Mrs. Spitzer. Wow. And then, even then, I knew that at the first faculty meeting of the year, the principal would likely announce that I had become engaged over the summer.
Okay, thank you, Gutenberg. Gutenberg! Burn it down. Literally, Hitler is here. Oh my God, Gutenberg, how you doing? Bingo cards is my card. No, this is just a mini-sode, so I'm not going to worry about the bingo card. If you'd like to bring out a bingo card of your own, by all means. Oh man, I thought I'd pumped up the volume. I'll pump up the volume, but apparently not. So, okay, she wanted to hang a sign outside her classroom saying Mrs. Spitzer, and then be announced over the PA or the whatever. Okay.
And my colleagues would stand and applaud for me. They would applaud for me in my new engagement. And I couldn't wait for this to be the case.
Uh-huh.
It would be a little while before I started to question this status change from Ms. to Mrs. It became clear to me that you would no sooner in the business world find someone smoking a cigarette at their desk or drinking scotch in the boardroom than you would find them calling someone Mrs. at work. And it also became clear to me that outside of education, women had long since decided that marital status was not relevant at work.
What?
I'm already lost. What?
Thank you, Matt Barnes. Engaged? Oh no. Yeah. No. It's okay. So wait. Mrs. is relegated to education. Well, usually it's because you have a child addressing an authority figure in their teacher.
Oh, yeah, typically.
When you're at work, and admittedly, it depends on the work environment and culture, but when I'm at work, unless I'm told specifically I'm to address someone a particular way, I usually call someone by their first name. because I'm trying to think of a time where even my greatest superiors or anything. I mean, if it was like the CEO or something, right? It was like a big like visiting dignitary kind of guy. But if it was someone that I worked with on a regular basis, I can't imagine a time where I didn't just address somebody by their first name.
Well, I can't think of any time I've ever called anybody Mr. anything in a work environment. Like a male, like Mr. somebody, like
I'm like, I'm trying to think. What was the last time? The last time I remember doing it, I remember what it was. Someone had shown up for a job interview, and I was a party to the interview. I wasn't the one doing the interview. I was sort of like there observing and
sitting in,
sitting in kind of thing, because it was tangentially related to what I was doing. And when the guy showed up, I mean, the doorbell rang. I went. I was expecting him. Came over, and I already knew his name. And I said, "Mr. Whatever," and he said, "Oh, just call me Kevin or something." And that was the exchange. I was just, the polite thing because I didn't know him, and that was about it. And I think I said, if I have to think about my psychology, but I think I said Mr. is because he was older than me, and I just have that sort of old-fashioned sensibility, I suppose. But otherwise, when I'm at work and if I know somebody, I just, for a sense of camaraderie and everything else, I just say, "Hey, Joe," or whatever. It just, anyway, this seems like a weird complaint. Okay, so Mrs. is an educational thing, but you don't see that happening in the workplace. Well, I do, but also at the same time, generally it doesn't. Yeah, okay, it's not relevant in the workplace most times. All right, anyway, moving on. Okay, this took a turn.
Yeah, that threw me off a little bit.
For a second, I was like, right now? Okay. Oh, okay. This is now a interview over Skype or whatever. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Is she vice principal strong woman? I don't know what she is. Okay, so we get a badly audioed mini TEDx stage, and now we're on to a person-to-person Skype call interview. For those of you listening at home, we have a card in front of us now that says, "What inspired your idea worth sharing?" Which is the tagline for TED Talks, ideas worth sharing. Okay.
I found myself walking down the halls of all of the schools that I work in, and I would see
all at the same time. Were you transdimensional?
door after door with a sign outside that say Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Jones. There's very few work environments where people address each other with a title in front of their name. I mean, even the most professional situations, people call each other by their first name.
Right.
Yes. Okay. I agree. That's true. A school environment, I don't know. I mean, in my mind, when it comes down to a school environment, most of the time you have, it is a mentor-student relationship, literally. And Mr. and Mrs. and thing is a sign of respect and a sign of recognizing someone's authority. Because everybody in that school, every teacher is meant to be an authority figure of a kind over children. In a working environment, again, short of like the dignitary from on high showing up, and you know them, if you don't know them personally, like people in your office, you get to know them, you get to know their first name, you call them by their first name. I thought the Mr. and Mrs. was mainly for the kids.
Yeah, that was my initial kind of viewpoint about it, but
okay.
Fuck do we know?
Is unique for that reason. Men do not go into a situation where someone is going to address them by their title leading with their marital status.
Okay.
Leading with their marital status. I was called Mr. when I was 13 by people. I've been called Mr. as a sign of like correction. Like, when my mom would say, Mr. whatever.
So, okay. I guess I'm confused because like for a woman, it's like if you're married, it's Miss. If you're not married, it's Miss. If you're married, it's Mrs. Mm-hmm. Is there, am I just tripping, or is there an alternative for men, or is it just Mr. all the time? Because I don't recall ever hearing an alternative.
The only thing I can think of, and I don't know if this is historically accurate, but I remember a title for a young man was often master. You know, like Master Wayne, that kind of thing. You know, when like Alfred would talk to Master Wayne, that kind of thing. He's talking to an unmarried man. I don't know if that's traditional or not. It certainly has probably fallen out of favor. In fact, Mr. I don't know, Mr. maybe sort of a variant of master. But anyway, yeah, I can't think of one that's used in common parlance. No.
Well, she was saying, like, in the chat, they said that's her point. Men are Mr. regardless. Yeah, but that's because there is no other term, not because men have chosen to not use the other term, because there is no other term. As far as I know.
Thank you, Dark Resurrect. I only call two people Mrs. X. They are 30 years veterans of my field, so it's a respect thing, but it's always Mrs. First Name. Mrs. First Name? Oh, like Mrs. Linda or something?
Yeah.
That, now, I mean, not my experience, but okay. Anyway. Okay, so, I mean, she's not wrong. Okay, so what is the... All right, the problem is Mrs. signifies a marital status, and men don't... So either your solution is to give men a marital status alternative, or get rid of Mrs. Or you have some other solution to this very taxing problem.
Their marital status is never acknowledged. Doctors don't go into the room leading with, just so you know, somebody's my wife, somebody's my husband.
No, usually they go like, I'm Dr. something, not I'm Mr. something.
But you see, she didn't use the term, though. Like,
yeah. Okay.
They don't have to do that. So
you want to make them do that? Okay, well, what's your new word? I'm curious. Like, what? Here's your complaint. What's your solution?
Why, as women, are we continuing to lead with that information?
Why? It's tradition. That's why. You're not required to. If you want to put Miss on your door label, or you just want to have your name without any significance to your status, I'm sure the school would oblige.
Well, okay. Here's my theory, because this is based on experiences and what I've seen and how I see women actually act towards each other. I would assume that the reason is to signify to other women that they are married, because being a certain age, especially if you're a woman, and not being married is something that other women will criticize you for. Mostly. Generally speaking, and like I said, this is in my anecdotal experience, most of the time, if you are of a certain age and you tell a woman or signify to other women around you that you are not married, the married women are going to be like, wonder what's wrong with her.
I also kind of thought the whole Mrs. thing was also sort of a signifier to men to don't hit on me.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, yeah, it does. I guess it also does sort of reflect a air of I'm already taken, like I'm property. So maybe there's an argument to be made there.
You know what I think? I think one day she opened the fridge and she ate some brownies, and there were her son's edibles, and she wrote this shit during that phase and really thought that she was on to something, because this just sounds like somebody, and I've had this happen before. I've had somebody come to me with something that they thought was so utterly profound, like, oh my God, dude, I just thought of this. And then when I like just kind of fix their perspective, I'm like, look, like you're tripping, dude. Like, this is how it actually, they're like, oh, why did I think it was so like, I don't know why you thought it was so, but it wasn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, anyway, okay. I am dying to know, if she has one, what her suggested solution is. All right, so here we go.
Like, it's maybe some of the information that you want to know about me, and that's fine. But I don't think it's the first thing that I want to lead with.
You don't have to. No, nobody, as far as I know, nobody's requiring you to do so. So if you go to your school and say, hey, can I change my name tag to just Tamar Spitzer without any, attribution at the front? What if somebody likes denoting that they're married?
Yeah.
I mean, if you might want to make an individual choice thing, I don't think anyone would argue with that. So, again, what are you suggesting?
That women don't have agency. That's what it sounds like to me.
That is the most important thing about me.
It's not the most important thing about you. It's just okay. Anyway,
that is the most important thing about me, especially at work.
Next card. Why do you want to share this idea with She hasn't given us an idea.
Yeah, there is no idea.
She has lodged a complaint. She has lodged a complaint. She has made she has called out an exception to a tradition that she thinks is, for lack of a better word, problematic. I guess the idea is this is a problem. If that's what you mean by the idea, but okay. But anyway, the card says, why do you want to share this idea with educators? Because I want somebody to complain to? I don't know.
When I started walking down hallways and seeing misses, I really started to think about teaching. There is no next level of teaching. What? If you want to move up, so to speak, and you want to move into administration, administration is a completely different job than being a teacher.
No shit. Yeah. And
I started to think of all of those things in terms of what are we doing to set ourselves back? What are we doing that creates an environment where we can't advance our career?
What? How does having Mrs. in front of your name prevent you from eventually becoming an administrator?
I told you, dude. She had some edibles, man.
Okay.
She ate a laced fruit roll up.
Okay. Not only am I now just dying to know what her solution to this problem is, I want to know how she's going to square this circle.
This bitch is crazy.
Okay. So tell me how Mrs. prevents you from becoming an administrator.
What are we doing to perpetuate any idea that we are secondary breadwinners?
What? So wait, being married automatically makes you a secondary
Really?
What do you think about women?
Marriage places you into a secondary status. Because of Mrs.
That doesn't make any sense. There are tons of married couples where the woman is the breadwinner. Like, what is this saying?
Do you know anything about that, Satsu?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. This lady doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Okay. All right. Or she is really butthurt that her chosen career makes so little compared to her husband.
I guess so.
And I know I just made a joke, but I am not trying to denigrate teachers. I'm just saying that the reality is what the reality is. If you're not making as much as your husband and you think that somehow makes you a lesser person, it doesn't. That's a you problem, lady. All right.
Definitely.
Or the extension of someone else who has the real job in the family.
That is such a crazy assumption. Like,
who thinks that automatic? I mean, if you're an absolute male chauvinist, sexist jerk, then maybe that's what you think about somebody, I suppose. But otherwise, if that's you worrying about what other people think of you, you're projecting onto society a vision of you that I guess you see of yourself, or that you think people are thinking. Again, this is a you problem.
Yeah, because it's all crazy assumption. Nothing she said was definitive or recognizable as something that somebody specifically identified. It's all just, it's all like speculation. It's weird.
And so all of those things are tied in for me.
Yes, for you.
They're all tied into this idea that I'm a Mrs.
You have taken something that is about as innocuous as a Band-Aid and turned it into like a gunshot wound. I really think you're overthinking this, but okay.
What does your husband think about you regretting marrying him?
I know. It's just like, God, I wish I was single. I wouldn't have to deal with all this stress of being a Mrs. And now everybody thinks I'm a secondary person. Oh my God. Okay. I really want to know where this is going.
And I wanted to shed that idea.
Okay.
I wanted to shed the idea that at work,
Yes.
I'm a Mrs.
Uh-huh.
before I'm all of the other things that I bring to the profession.
No. If I go to a school and I see on a door Mrs. Whatever, I have an idea in some way, shape, or form of what you do. I mean, it is an assumption. I assume that you are a teacher first. I don't care about you being married because in the context of where I am, you are Miss. Yes, Mrs. Hoover. It's like, do I think that Mrs. Hoover is married? Is that my first thought? It's like, oh, well, that bitch be owned, yo. No, it's a teacher. You are a teacher in a school. Come on.
Dude, there is no level of school that I have participated in where seeing Mrs., just the word or the title, immediately made me think of that person's husband. Like,
yeah, or marital status.
Who gives a shit?
I've seen people that go by Mrs. who aren't married. It's just, what? Okay. Anyway, we're only 3 minutes into this. Okay, next card. How would you like your idea to impact schools? What idea? That Mrs. is a bad thing. Okay, if that is her idea, yes. What do you want to see happen in schools? Are you now going to tell us your grand solution?
Oh,
I talk about it in the talk a little bit, but for example, at the first faculty meeting of every school year, in almost every school I've ever worked in, you can expect for the principal to make her announcements, and the principal's announcements are going to be who got engaged and who had a baby.
Okay, and those are things that you're presumably happy about, right?
Right. You don't want to join in some notion of celebration for someone's, I don't know, lifetime benchmark of either marriage or having a child or becoming a parent. What is wrong with that? Tell me why that is a bad thing.
Also, did you have a wedding and a baby shower? Because those are also celebrations of those things. Do you frown upon those too?
Yeah. Do you just want to be a buzzkill for everybody?
Fucking bitch.
Or are you like sad in your marriage and also barren, and that's why you want everybody else to live in your misery? I know I'm being mean. Okay.
And I just think that as professionals, we have so much more to celebrate, so much more to acknowledge.
Such as?
Like what? What else should they mention at that point?
Yeah, what else? And why shouldn't they celebrate an engagement or a wedding or the birth of a child or whatever? Why shouldn't they do that? What is wrong with that? You need to articulate why it is wrong, whether I agree with you or not. You can't just say, we shouldn't do that, or that's all it is, or something. Why is it bad? Why? What is your reasoning for it being a bad thing? Like it's all that there is? Why are people at that meeting in the first place? What is already being acknowledged first and foremost by attendance to that meeting? Your professional status, your belonging to that profession. It is already acknowledged as you walk in the door. What are you talking about?
Than just the idea that we found our perfect person or that we're growing our family. We are those things. And of course, we're proud of those things.
But
I think that our professional advancements should also be acknowledged.
So you never at your place of work get acknowledged for your professional advancements ever. That one meeting at the beginning of the year after all that shit, the one time on that one day out of the whole school year, they mention this one thing, and that takes up the bulk of anything that is ever mentioned about you in your profession. Really?
I got a question for our speaker. Does she cash a paycheck from that school district? Okay. If you cash a paycheck from that school district, that is your recognition for your professional efforts. At the very boilerplate basics, you have a job at that school and you draw a paycheck for your work. Jeez. Okay, what more are you looking for? At a faculty meeting, what was that first word? Faculty. What does that make you a part of? A teaching organization, whatever it is, whether it's school, university, or otherwise. You are being acknowledged for your professional involvement. first and foremost. If you're drawing a paycheck, you're being acknowledged for your professional involvement. If your paycheck goes up, you're being recognized for your advancement, and on and on. What are you asking for? At this point, simply saying it's a problem isn't enough, okay? You need to give us some idea of what your proposed solution is. Otherwise, you're just complaining to complain about something that means nothing and is actually nullified by your own tale so far. Good Lord.
Teachers are some of the most highly educated professionals that exist.
No, I'm going to have to disagree with that one.
Okay, well, let's, for the sake of argument, let's just stipulate it to it for a second. Okay, let's say that's so. All right. And, it varies teacher to teacher, but let's say for the sake of argument, that is so. Is Mr. and Mrs. not first and foremost a sign of respect? Right? By not approaching you with the familiarity of a first name, and first and foremost, addressing you by an honorific. And here's the other thing, too. If you're in a college, you're going to be called Professor Spitzer. All right? If you're a doctor, you'll be called Dr. Spitzer. We don't have anything, as far as I know, for a position as a teacher. But when I'm at a school and I hear someone say, Mrs. Spitzer, I know they're talking to a teacher in that context. That is a recognition of your professional position. It is not a recognition of your marital status.
Yeah, must be a married woman around. They said Mrs. Like, that's not what I'm thinking.
I think you crossed the glass. Just hyphenate your name, Miss Spitzer Mansnut. Spitzer Mansnut. Okay, she's got about 2 minutes to wrap this up. Come on.
We are learners by nature. It's why we love to help other people learn. So as teachers continue to develop themselves, which most of them do, either by attending a conference or pursuing another degree or pursuing a doctorate for that matter, all of the different ways that teachers seek to develop themselves. I think that there should be a forum for the celebration of all of those things.
Hey, you know what I know most schools do? A yearly faculty meeting and a yearly awards ceremony, teacher of the year, that kind of stuff.
No. There's nothing that schools do ever to acknowledge the academic achievements or furthering of academic achievements that teachers contribute to schools. Like there's no recognition at all. The only thing they mention is the fact that you're getting fucked by somebody.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're sharing your bed with someone. That is all that anybody cares about.
That's it. That's all that ever find out.
Yeah. You go to that school, you go to your classroom, you do your job. You talk to no one, nothing else happens. You teach your kids and you go home. You don't even draw a paycheck. You're not even recognized for your efforts in that regard. You're basically doing it as a charity. God, if only someone would recognize how awesome I am otherwise. But unfortunately, I am just shackled to this guy over here and his last name for the rest of my life. God damn it.
Somebody need to roll this bitch a gigantic cookie that says congrats on it so she can just get over herself.
After this talk, she needs to drive herself down to a divorce attorney. I mean, I can't think of another reason why she's making this complaint other than, or either she is very, very unhappy in her marriage, or she is such a lame teacher that there's nothing much more to compliment her on her but her last name. I can't imagine what's going through this lady's head right now, honestly.
I think that all of those things should really serve to inspire others to continue to learn and grow themselves.
What things? What are we even talking about?
Matt Barnes, thanks so much. We are learners. That suggests to me she is the pupil, not the teacher. Well, I mean, if she's talking in sort of the abstract sense, is like, we as teachers are natural born information sponges, that kind of thing. Because, teaching is not a static profession. New things are coming out. You have to expand your knowledge as a matter of your profession and so on and so forth. So in that sense, I don't misunderstand what she's saying. But I'm going to back up at least a couple seconds here to get the context of what she was saying a second ago. All right, let's try this again.
I think that there should be a
Oh, sorry. Let me. I got to back up further.
It's why we love to help other people learn. So as teachers continue to develop themselves, which most of them do, either by attending a conference or pursuing another degree or pursuing a doctorate for that matter, all of the different ways that teachers seek to develop themselves, I think that there should be a forum for the celebration of all of those things.
You mean like a graduation or a certificate ceremony
I was just about to say
where you are openly and publicly acknowledged for your accomplishments? Yeah, too bad those things don't exist.
There's no graduation ceremony. Yeah, when you further your education by getting another degree, nothing ever happens. There's no what's a diploma? What's a graduation ceremony? Oh, what's a photo you put up on your Facebook of you with your sheepskin and your hat on? No one recognizes these things. It's all go under the radar. God, you are the most good Lord. This lady.
You go home for the last day and they just send it in the mail. Here you go. There's no congratulations or nothing. It's just in a regular white envelope on regular white paper that says "good shit, bro."
Yeah, it was printed up on a Xerox machine at a Kinko's. I know those don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? And also, by the way, you're also not allowed by law to tell anyone that this happened. We can't have any celebrations, any acknowledgement. You don't get to put any new letters at the end of your title. No. You're not allowed. Really, lady, what world are you? Man, this is something else. I didn't imagine that a 5-minute TED Ed talk would be so mind-melting.
Yeah, this shit is next level, dude.
I think that all of those things should really serve to inspire others to continue to learn and grow themselves.
Okay, you can't control that. Okay, something that you do either will or will not inspire someone else. You have no control of that. You can't mandate that. Okay, but at the same time, you also haven't given us any evidence that the things you're mentioning do not have some form of recognition or celebration. Nothing you have mentioned, and in fact, the examples you've given have inherent recognition of these things. So, but as far as like you want them to inspire, okay, that's up to you. If you're so cool and someone gets inspired, that's on them. You can't make that happen just by saying, oh, look at all my accomplishments. That should inspire people. Well, if it doesn't, you're just going to have to live without that, I guess, ego trip or something. This lady's somewhere else.
If you think about the fact that marriages, engagements, and babies are celebrated more than those things are finite. My learning and growth.
What? How? Those things. Your marriage is finite. Yeah, I feel first and foremost, I feel sorry for her husband.
Dude, yeah, listening to this, oh my God.
Okay, so a marriage is finite. Well, I guess in that sense you're correct because everybody dies. A birth is finite. Well, you're right because the birth itself kind of comes and goes within 36 hours if you're my mother. But of course, children eventually die as well. You're right. All these things are finite. Your learning is not finite.
That's something that should exist through my entire career.
Should your marriage exist through your entire career? Should your child exist through your entire career? What are you saying? This is so bonkers. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I watch a lot of these things. This is absolutely off the wall bonkers. What is she talking about? Oh my God.
And that's something that should be celebrated over and over and over again.
Your professional accomplishments, your marriage, you're not going to have your anniversary every year, or you're not going to celebrate your child's birthday.
Well, more importantly, she is mentioning or trying to state that the very mention of her name. So if a student comes in and says Mrs. So-and-so, that in itself is a celebration of her marriage.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a recognition of your position as a teacher. No. Again, it's context-based. Okay? In this instance, you go to, again, Mrs. or Mr. whatever at a school, my first thought is teacher. or principal or something, someone there, or just the recognition that this person is working in a place of learning. Like even the nurse I called by her Miss or Mrs. or whatever. That was just, anyway. All right, hopefully last card. You developed your talk together with a cohort of colleagues. That's not even a question, but okay, so other people helped you with this and this is the best you got? Holy cats. And a follow-up. How did that experience impact you? Oh, I'm sure it built up your ego well to have a whole bunch of people agreeing with you. But do tell.
The examination of what really lies at your core, what really is something that is important to you, what's really something that you feel like is worth sharing, ideas worth sharing. When those things came through with this group of people, we shared a bond that was unlike anything that I've experienced before or probably ever will again.
You mean aside from your marriage to your husband?
Oh, that's a bond? No, I was talking about real bonds with strangers who agree with you.
And so it's not just about the idea that's worth sharing. It's also about the connection that you create when you share them.
Okay, before that music gets me a strike or something. All right, so in summary, I have but one thing to say, and it is this.
What? What is that? What the fuck is that?
I am flabbergasted. That made the least sense of anything that I've watched recently. In fact, I am on the verge of saying she might be up there with Chromosome Lady, because it was absolutely without any logical sense whatsoever. Thank you, Bossa Nova Lobrek. Monkey says, hello, Lawton. I love watching you guys Scribe say hello to Cat Dog Fox.
Hello, Monkey.
Monkey, hello. And Cat Dog Fox. Wow, wow, wowie. Yeah. Well, thank you, Bossa Nova. Dog Cat Fox says backwards hello. So thank you. Mike Carson Scribe, can we make this a permanent Lawton segment? I might do it once in a while. This is just special because I found a really short, relatively TED Talk thing. Can't say it's going to be a regular deal. A show where we do something like this with a different video, not necessarily a TED thing. I might do that maybe like once a month or something. You know, the April Fool's thing, while meant to be a sort of pull the rug out from under people, people seem to enjoy it. Satsu enjoyed it as well. I might do that with some regularity, but not all the time. Okay, well, anyway, we are well into question time. Guys, if you have questions, comments, concerns, complaints, conspiracy theories, put them in the chat now. If you have questions for us directly, please put plenty of chat marks after those. If you have statements for us to consider, please put plenty of statement marks after those. Satsu, what was give us your capsule reaction to that video?
Like I said, it's one or two things. Either she got into some edibles, or because of how fucking long her head is, it takes a while for the processed thoughts to get down to her mouth, and this weird game of telephone happens.
Wow.
I don't know. Either way, that lady, she's troubled, and her husband needs to get the fuck out of there. That was the most disjointed, like, pity party, pat on the back, whatever the hell you want to call it. I kept waiting. It's like, I thought honestly she was going to say, you know, at schools, instead of Mrs. or Mr., we should be saying blah. Or something like that. Like, offer an alternative. If that is your big concern, that, going for her logic for a second, that Mr. and or Mrs. is only and ever a denotation of your marital status, then what's your suggestion of the alternative? If you think that is somehow harming you in your profession, and again, the people that are going to most be interacting with you,
using that honorific are children.
Mhm.
They're seeing you as just a married woman. That's all they see you as? Really? How do you know that, first and foremost? And even if they did, you still control their grades. What do you care? None of my professional accomplishments are being recognized. This lady is just obviously not getting enough affirmation. She's not being praised enough in her position. She's feeling underappreciated. And maybe she is, for all I know, because trust me, I understand that people who provide a public service of one form or another, work for the state, work for a school system. These are oftentimes, and I know this from at least a secondhand experience. My mother and father worked for school districts when I was growing up. They can oftentimes be thankless jobs. I get that. Okay. So if she's got some kind of complaint on that score, maybe there's something there. But for everything she was talking about and seemingly ignoring the fact that, how does celebrating someone's impending birth of a child or marriage or something, how does that harm you? How does that detract from your professional accomplishments? Zero sense. And then when you do accomplish something, there's just an absence of anything that would take place to recognize that, like a graduation ceremony or a birthday or a wedding anniversary. It just bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Okay, Frosted Glass. Model Winter. Oh, Lords, would y'all try a Dog Cat Fox special beef stew with extra meat, a pile of cheese nipples, cheese crackers shaped like nips, and a big glass of milk with puddin' pop stir stick? Wow, that is a meal chock full of innuendo.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Frosted Glass, Lord's powers, you can dance if you want to, but you have to leave your friends behind.
But I love my friends.
Well, if the thing is that if they don't dance themselves, they're no friends of mine.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Let's see. Cannibalistic Wizard, an apple wrapped in bacon and smoked.
Nope.
An apple wrapped in bacon smoked, then dipped in caramel and candied apple stuff and a glass of vodka. No, that's a bit too much. A glass of vodka? Okay. If I have vodka, and it's a rare day now that I do, it's a shot. I think of a glass, I think of like a drinking glass. I would never be able, I would die if I tried to have a glass of vodka. So it'd be a no. Thank you, Ebony Williams, to renovate your moon base. Aha! What should I put up in my moon base? Oh, a new set of curtains on the window that overlooks the lunar landscape.
There you go.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's see. Mr. Scribe, wait, Cat Dog is on the moon with you? No, Cat Dog's not on the moon. I assume that Bossa Nova, just a typo. I don't mean to. I'm not mean to snark too much. Just a typo. It's Dog Cat Fox, not Cat Dog Fox. I don't know what that is.
I think that was a Nickelodeon cartoon reference.
Oh, I know what Cat Dog was. I know that.
Okay.
I'm not that much of a boomer, Junior.
Okay.
Let's see. Mr. Yes, Satsu, did Squeetus lose a tooth yet? Has she had teeth? She's got teeth now. Yeah, she does.
No, she didn't lose a tooth yet. That'd be kind of shocking if she did.
Yeah, it's going to be, what is that, like 5 or so when the teeth fall out? 4 or 5? 5 or 6? I don't know. I forget. Something like that. Advocatus Diabli, I like blah. I'm going to start calling everyone blah now. Quote, nice to meet you, blah Smith. Oh, yes. Yeah, instead of Mr. and Mrs., just blah.
There you go.
Actually, we should come up with a teacher honorific for elementary and high school teachers. So yeah, professors when you're in a university, what should the teacher? I'm sure there are words or honorifics from the distant past that could be used, like variants of teacher, like some old what's Latin for teacher, or what's an old Roman word or something. There's got to be something out there we can start applying so that
From
she is
now on.
Yeah.
Call me sensei.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Sensei. There you go. That'd be fine. Let's see. Frosted Glass. Would you take all the big butts you like if you could not lie?
I'd like to take that row of where was that at again? The Dubai butts.
Yeah.
Did you see that picture finally?
Yeah, I did. Did you know what happened to all those women?
They got imprisoned, right?
They got deported.
Oh, they got deported? Damn.
Oh, yeah. No, that apparently that photo shoot was illegal and violated their I don't know what you want to call it, decency laws or something. So everybody involved in that thing, they were all Ukrainian apparently, all the women, and they've all been deported.
Well, if they need a place to stay.
I forgot to read that story tonight. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Let's see. Mystery Satsu, have you used a smoker before?
Nope. Never used a smoker and never actually really had what people would consider real smoke meat. I've had things labeled smoke meat, but I'm just like,
my dad had a smoker when I was a kid. He did a hickory smoker, and man, that stuff was great. Oh, he make his own beef jerky and just like hamburgers and things. Oh, good stuff.
I am planning on getting a smoker in the future, though. So
let's see. Advocatus Diaboli. Latin for teacher is doctor. Okay. USB says professor, one who professes. Yeah, but I think the education stratification between university and high school, elementary school, I think there should be maybe like there should be different honorifics for that gradient as well. So professor, I think, is still sort of a university college kind of thing. Would be a good word for the earlier grades, I wonder. Travis Garner, Scarlett, my wife fixed it by going by doctor. So did Joe Biden's, apparently, I hear. USP, maybe we can call them all presenter. Travis Gardner, lectern. Lectern, isn't a lectern like a podium? I mean, I don't want to start calling teachers just simple inanimate objects. That would be. Mr. Scribe, have you wondered what a mirror universe of yourself be like? A mirror universe of myself. Well, he would be a confident, arrogant jerkwad who hurts people and doesn't read things and doesn't pay attention to stuff. Yeah. All the opposite. I guess that's my first reflexive thought. Satsu, what would your mirror universe you be doing?
Probably successful.
Frost Glass, I am personally prepared to offer those Dubai women political asylum. I know.
Yeah, show.
I have seats for them here. Frost Glass, if you did a TED Excellence on this, I'd suggest calling it misnomer. Well, I've already done it. I'm not going to redo it. But I will probably add this to the TEDx playlist just for reference, because this does count in a way. It's not a bingo card one, but man, that was something else. I don't know if I can call it a full TED Excellence because it was so short and we didn't use a bingo card, but it deserves some recognition. Advocatus Diaboli, lector is also lating for one who reads. I wonder if like when they named the character Hannibal Lecter, if that was sort of like an implication that he was a teacher, because he, in a way, was to many of the other characters. Or if that was the thinking behind it. Mystery Satsu, favorite Resident Evil or R34? I'm assuming that's what that means.
Wait, what?
Favorite R34.
Favorite R34? I don't know what that means.
My first thought was a Resident Evil reference.
R34. I don't know what that means.
Nicholas Daly, magister is Latin for teacher. Magister. Okay. I think isn't that more used in a legal, like a magistrate? Yeah, I don't know. I find something that doesn't have too much crossover. Ebony Williams, Satsu!
'Tis I.
'Tis you.
'Tis me.
Thank you, Ebony. Sean Lee, just call them Teacher X, no gender there. So like Teacher Spitzer. I mean, it doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but Travis Garner says hair teacher. Well, no, that's German. Mr. says R34 is Rule 34. What is your favorite Rule 34, Satsu?
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
yeah, it didn't. I've never seen it presented in such a way, I guess. Now, refresh my memory because I know what it is, but
Rule 34, as I understand it, is if you can think of it, there is a porn of it.
okay. I have to think about that because there are some things that shouldn't be that I've seen, and I'm like, well, this is a thing. Mostly, it's like the kind of Cartoon Network in shows where you know that the main characters are all children, and you're just like, why is there porn for this?
Yeah.
There shouldn't be porn for this.
I mean, there's a website just called Rule 34, and like, yeah, that's. Anyway, let's see. Mata Winter Scribe, do you have a comment on the video of Dogcat Fox having a Shih Tzu perform an enema on him with lunar ice?
Nani?
My comment is
No comment.
I have no idea what that is. If that actually exists, I don't know of it. Travis Gunner, Rule 34 Drunkle. Ew. Mr. Satsu, how far have you gotten in Monster Hunter Rise?
I have gotten to the end game. What
The end game? Did you go through the Infinity War first? Gulf City Peterbilt. If it exists, there is porn of it. Yeah, no, I that's what I said. Sean Lee, what is your favorite World War II movie? Ooh, good question. World War II movie. Let's see. That's a World War I movie. World War II. Probably the first one that comes to mind is Das Boot. As far as submarine films go, war films go, Das Boot's pretty good. But for like above ground such things, part of me wants to say, oh God. See, when I think about that, I gotta make sure in my mind, because I'm like thinking of all these war movies, and like half of them are Vietnam movies, and then the other half are World War II movies, and then there's a couple of them that are World War I movies. God, so yeah, Das Boot's a good one. Oh boy. The Fall is also a good one. I mean, that's also another German film, which is I think it's called The Fall. It's the one where the Hitler meme comes from, where Hitler is screaming at everybody in his bunker.
Mm.
I think that's called The Fall, I believe, maybe, or it's something like that. God, I suddenly forget. Anyway, those are the two that come to mind as far as my favorite World War II movies. There are other ones, like one was mentioned about The Longest Day. I like that one. It's a little, quaint, all things considered. I know a lot of people would say Saving Private Ryan, but I'm just like, meh. It's a decent movie. It is not one of my favorites. Downfall, that was it. Yes, Osan, thank you. Downfall, not just fight. There was fall in there, so yeah, Downfall. Downfall is a great movie. Let's see. Sean Lee says mine is Where Eagles Dare. Oh boy, I haven't seen that in a long time. Let's see. Frosty Glass, do you ever switch off a porno because of poor production quality, lighting, sound, etc.? Maybe, I don't know.
Usually, for me, I can forgive lighting and sometimes sound, but lighting is not really that big of an issue. What really gets me is like bad acting.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, that shit actually like kills it. I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
When they're just like,
I'll give you that. If they're not even into it, not even on a fake sense.
yeah, and not even that, like if they're trying to spin some type of narrative beforehand, and I'm just like, it's just this really awkward, like, just I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. You just know it's like, God damn it.
Well, if it's bad foreplay,
yeah,
right? If it's bad foreplay, it doesn't matter what happens next because you're not even into. Yeah, okay,
exactly, and it's just like next, next video.
Art Pro says Fury. I haven't. I've seen clips of Fury. I haven't seen Fury, the World War II movie. Let's see. Well, that's all the questions that I see, at least, that are jumping out at me. And besides which, Monsieur says Lawton, favorite '90s rapper. Favorite '90s rapper. I mean, '90s. At the time, it was probably MC Hammer. Honestly, because I was a kid, and that's about as far as my rap game went, I suppose. Although, I mean, the Snoop Doggy Dogg was always playing on MTV, and it was always like, Snoop Doggy Dogg, need to get a jobby job. And then the song would play. So maybe that one too. But yeah.
I liked Ludacris a lot back then, like when he first came out.
Was he 90s? Was he 90s?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he was.
Right.
Well, maybe.
Anyway, everyone, we're at the top of the hour, and that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, as you guys always do. You guys really are the best audience in the whole entire world. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Everyone who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that little diversion into the TED world. If you'd like to see some more of that, and you don't already know, I do that on a longer form version of that every Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, in a series I call TED Excellence, where I take a look at a TEDx or TED Talk of some kind and see what they have to teach me. Otherwise, Satsu, you got anything going on tonight, gaming-wise?
No, I'm going to be chilling out, trying to get some stuff done and doing some research.
All righty. Well, everyone, be sure to look for us tomorrow night on Satsu's channel at the regular time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of Lords of the Night. But with that, everyone, thank you for joining us. Satsu, thank you for joining me as always. Everyone, your lives make us sad, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
And taking out my copy of Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, the romance and sexual sorcery of sadomasochism. Today's secret word is trust.
Huh.
It's poignant, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
I trust this is the end.